Well, good morning, beautiful people. Good morning, rise and shine. It's time to get up and do what you've got to do. It is day 26, y'all. Yeah, you heard me correctly. Day 26. And before you know it, the month of March will be gone. Okay, the month. And so there's something about that we all have to look at. And so if this is your first time watching us, watching Effective Living, I want you to subscribe to this channel. Every day we're showing up, giving you practical information that will sort of ignite something inside of you that you got to literally accept for you moving forward. You've got to tell yourself, I don't want to just merely exist. And so with that said, man, let me tell you, my guest today, this dude is no joke. Okay, this is my brother, Mar. What's up, man? Mar Butler. Listen, welcome back to Effective Living.
Hey, welcome back. Thank you so much, Ricardo. It's always a pleasure. I'm glad to be here, man. Can't wait to get started.
Hey, man, listen, the last time you was here, you was with my other brother, Adrian McConnell. And
Yes.
man, we had an incredible time. What you been up to, man? I know you've launched a couple of things. You've been keeping busy. You like what you do. I mean, I'm watching you from a distance. I said, this brother right here is living life effectively. He is working himself in alignment with what he believes he's about, what he's supposed to be about. And that's really where effective living begins. That is the working of understanding that I'm not here just to merely exist. I'm here to dominate, crush it, excel, and advance in what I bring to the planet. And so tell our viewing audience a little bit about Mar.
Well, first of all, I'm a inspirational speaker. Just a teacher at will, student of life. As I tell people, I always use that famous proverb that you say a lot. Is when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yep.
So I live my life according to that topic. But merely my life has been the student of my teacher has been life in general,
Yep.
walking toward my purpose. And so as I began to speak, I've been doing a lot of things, just linking with a lot of organizations, banding together with grassroots organizations and community leaders, stakeholders. And what we really formed was called the Black Male Agenda, which is something that we're going to do, an initiative that we have been put into place that has really focused on restoring the communities and the color, especially African American, by restoring the Black male back into the home, as mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and just knowing that you are a foundation, that you are present, and that there are other resources that are willing to lend a hand and advocate for you on every aspect, because they lead in the negative points of life, every quality of life, negative category. The Black male leads in from age 8 all the way to age 55 in the city of Dallas. And we have band together to challenge those things. Other than that, go ahead.
Man, you got to go ahead, finish that. I'm ready to
Oh,
dive into this. Go for it.
yeah. I said, other than that, I've been walking in alignment, my brother, as far as writing the books and teaching the courses,
Yep.
that I do, as far as people will always ask you, what's your story when you've made an impact in their life?
Yep.
That's when really people want to know your story.
Yep.
And I find that my story, the more I tell it, the more relevant it is to helping to heal someone else. And
Yep.
so what I did was create a course that teaches people how to use their story, how to turn their story into a message, and how to use their message to do as I do, which is travel and just, bless others with your testimony the right way.
You said so much right there, bro. Listen, our whole conversation is just going to be me dissecting what you just said. But let's work this part right here. You said the Black male, and we're going to lean in on Dallas. We're not going to say global for right now, but we're going to lean in on Dallas, Dallas, Texas. That is for you guys watching. But this is strong, man. You said the Black male, unfortunately, at this particular time, is leading in all of the negative attributes
Yeah.
from a society standpoint. Talk about some of those attributes. Highlight some of those things, because we got mothers who are watching right now and they said, man, I got a young Black male. I need to know what some of those things is to make sure that I'm leaning them towards the opposite to that, because obviously there's right and wrong.
Right.
There's the way to do it and there's way not to do it. And I don't know about you, but here's the deal. I believe success is all about finding the right way to do something and then capitalizing on the fact that if you could do it, why not do it? And if you get in that lane of doing it, guess what? Boom, success in that particular area. So talk to us
Right.
about a couple of those areas that you're disturbed by. Some of the things that is facts that says, man, listen, this is ridiculous. This got to change. And I love the fact that the Dallas Black Male Agenda has made this a mandate, but highlight some of those things for us, please.
Well, it seems as though after everything is being factual. So therefore, we're not putting up the ideas about what we feel
Yep.
or what the intention was of what we've heard. These were based on this, what is called a Spark report that was up under the Obama administration, where people just really just diligently look up facts, like real detailed, accurate facts.
Yep.
And what we found that although in the United States alone, the average Black community is no more than 12%, not even 20%. The average male leads 67% of the homeless population. And if he's age 55 or older, and this is around the country, age 55 and older, almost 80%. And nevertheless, the homeless service providers, 70% of them are white. And out of not servicing the Black community. There are no communities of color where you have more Black homeless service providers, but they lead also in mental health. Mental health issues is a big problem. They lead in not just incarceration, but the violation of death, murder, domestic violence. It's just so much not college ready, high school dropout, lack of education. And then when they have education, they have jobs that's only available to them. Most of them are high school diplomas or less, not above. Most of them are high school diplomas or less, because even a college degree, an associate's degree, makes less than anyone else with a high school diploma, and that's only the Black male. And so what we're trying to do is challenge those issues and saying that rather than arresting the effects of some of these problems, we need to start holding some accountability that there are no resources that advocate for the advancement of the Black male in general from the time he's age 8, because his learning curve, this was what we discovered, that his learning curve begins to shift. So he's having the fine motor skills. So now he has motor skills rather than the fine skills. So now he understands more with his eyes and with his hands rather than reading into the books. But there are no structures that really cater to someone that does that. It's always trying to fit you into a system that is really not for you. So therefore, as a Black male begins to advance more up in grade average, his mathematics skills decline and his reading and writing skills decline because they stay stellar. No one has an advancement of reading. It stops after a certain grade, and then you go to just doing other things, but you were supposed to. It's only when you get to college that you have to maintain all of those things all over again, and you find that you are failing in those areas that should have been elevating as you progressed. And
listen, to not be advancing in areas that is necessary to living life to the fullest is to breed frustration. Is to breed a level of anger, because obviously if there are some people figuring it out and I have to wake up and I have potential, but my potential is not being maximized, after a while envy and anger and frustration and just all kinds of extra lazy negative stuff will attach itself to me, and before you know it, it's like it starts compounding from the negative standpoint. And so here on Effective Living, my goal is to help people tap into understanding what life is supposed to be about. And life, I don't think we were created to lose. I don't think we were created to be slaves. I don't think we were created to be the borrowers. I don't think we were created to be last. I think we have options, and I think we ought to be taught about those options. And then each man should be given an opportunity to play on the potential that is within them to get that gift out to humanity. And then after a while, we find ourselves, enjoying life based on how we played our cards. But you're saying the cards somewhat is really unevenly played. Not only unevenly played, but we're not being educated how to even play with the cards we've been dealt.
Right, exactly. So what we're saying, what we are dealing with the conundrum of feeling that we have to challenge a system as though a system was broken. But the reality is when you really dissect it and you really look at it, what we have discovered was
Yeah.
the system was never broken. We're challenging a system that never was.
Oh,
So
yeah.
when you have a system that you are living in that was not created for you to advance in, you
Yeah.
either come with two choices. Either you can remake yourself and reinvent yourself to try to fit a system that was not designed to you
Yeah.
so that you can survive or have a decent life, or you can fight to create to change it or create one of your own. And so
Ladies
what
and
we've
gentlemen,
been doing
oh,
is
man.
creating one of your own.
Mar Butler, guys, let me tell you something. The brother said, listen, we're not talking about a system that is broken, okay? And I think that's so important. And I know we got a lot of incredible people who watch this platform on a daily basis. And listen to what he just said. We're not talking about a system that has been broken. We're talking about a system that was never created. So now, if that's the case, I heard you just now. You said you got to decide. Then I'm going to create the system for me and mine, so I can start establishing a legacy. I can start breaking a mold that was wrongly forced on me and mine, and start setting a trend that needs to be what is now my system. Which even if there were never one given to me, I got to form one. Talk to us about it.
I think that's what goes back to your title, which is effective living, Ricardo. When you want to have something and live effectively, you cannot say the word effectively without productivity. So you have to mention and you have to be productive. And what we've coming to the point is that it's clashing because its counterparts is that when you're watching and seeing someone who is productive, we're doing less than half of what you do, but in order to even break even or survive, you have to do twice as much. Then obviously you are seeing that it is something that is uneven about this system. And so you have to challenge some of those things and you have to look at it from an equity lens. And this is what the equity is about.
Yeah.
Equity is about making sure that the ones who do not have, and then the ones who already have don't have, in certain areas, so that all may be even. And so what we're looking at is making new rules, putting people into place. It requires being able to stand up for something, not just for yourself, but for your children's children. You have to think generationally
Yep.
down the line. What does a dream and a new system for you look like? And that comes with not just a proactive and addressing needs of food and hunger and clothing and homeless shelters, but to also come from a proactive approach.
Yep.
And start doing something let's make you job ready. Let's give you new trades and new skills. As a matter of fact, let's build an educational system that applies and caters to your motor skills. Let's start building homes and everything and giving you jobs that actually complement the cost of living. All of those things would alleviate some of the pressures that automatically make people turn to crime, because you're not talking about wrong versus right. What we're dealing with here is pressure versus relief. When a person is under pressure of any kind of duress, they make decisions that are sometimes irrational, but you can't keep arresting the effects of the problem.
Man, listen, you said something while you were speaking just now. Challenging a system. We have a mother watching us right now. We have a father watching us right now, knowing that they're raising a boy. More specifically, let's deal with our young men, right? They're raising a boy. They're raising boys, and there's an acceptance of what you just said. There is some, but what do I do? And we know the system at large needs to be looked at, but let's talk about the system within our homes, the parental responsibility of raising boys, the fatherly responsible of raising sons. What are some of those things you would say has to be drilled into these kids that will help them to understand? Listen, we're going to establish a mold that's going to be necessary for you to advance, even though one was not necessarily given to you. The truth is you have been given some cards to play with in life. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to play with a bad card, bad hand. You know what I'm saying? What is some of the parental responsibility that you see that needs to be given to our viewing audience?
Well, it's a book by the name of by the author. His name is Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu, and he always said it that in order for a boy to become a man, he has to see a man.
Yeah.
It's just that simple.
Wow.
And the roles of a manhood, it has to be consistent as it pertains to that. Now, there are certain things that a man cannot, a young boy cannot deviate from if he wants to grow up successfully.
Yep.
And one is responsibility.
Yep.
And two, most definitely, is some type of structure, like the rules. He has to know that he has to be able to make rules for himself.
Yep.
So therefore, he can't. It's not to be too harsh, but he has to understand that even if you are raising up in a single parent home, and the mother is trying to raise the son, when that son becomes a grown man, society itself treats him as though he has responsibility and understands structure already, whether he has it or not. So that's why he's always treated just a little bit harshly, because when he makes a mistake, the first thing that they say is that you should have known better.
Yeah. Wow.
And the reason why they say that you should have known better, because they automatically say that the male is automatically in the home learning responsibility and automatically knowing the structure, the rules first. He is the caretaker. He is the provider. And so when people already have that stigma attached to the black male or any race, and just say a man, period, when the society has that stigma attached to him, for him to do something that counteracts that or comes in conflict with that, it's almost it's not fathomable. They cannot fathom that, and so therefore it looks unlikely. And so they address that with forms of crime and punishment, because it's a more harsh on the male. If a male makes a mistake, he goes to court. He gets sentenced after the first time, but he's the only one. Whether you're a child or a woman, they give you a slap on the wrist and you're gone. But the male himself does not have leeway because of those structures. So those are the first two things that I would do, whether he knows it or not. By the time he's age 7, he should be ironing his own clothes or picking out himself, dressing himself, taking out the trash, whatever it takes. But you are trying to instill some degree of responsibility, because when he grows up, those things will have to be implanted in him because of the way society treats him.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, we're joined with Mar Butler. This guy is making it happen here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I wanted him to come back on. I wanted it to be an exclusive conversation that really dives into what he is about. And let me tell you something. Obviously, you can tell he's passionate, he is informed, and he's making a difference. And the information that is being shared must be shared, because we have a mailman. I say a mailman. We have a man issue. I mean, our brothers, our young men. My son is 19 years old. I want him to be a distinguished gentleman. I want him to be a real man. But the truth is, kids today aren't being fed all of the necessary ingredients, more specifically our boys, what it takes to be successful and to thrive. Let's dive into the mindset of this generation, more specifically boys. What is some of that? What have you noticed to be strong mindset that obviously may need to be the right mindset, but obviously this is what they're leaning towards and it's not helping?
I'm feeling as though the mindset of most of the people nowadays is just that you can have whatever you want in this world without the work.
Yep.
And so when pressure comes,
Yep.
they're easily folded.
Wow.
As I see within since the beginning of the millennial generation,
Yep.
which is just now, if they should be in their early 30s or something
Yep.
of that sort now, just the beginning of that time. I've done some studies that in the past 20 years, the prescriptions for antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications
Yep.
have increased by 400 times as much. See, we talk about the murders and everything of that sort, and we're talking about the other criminal behavior, but no one talks about within the past 15 years, suicide rate has almost quadrupled,
Yep.
since then. And so it's a disconnect. It is a mental disconnect between the Generation X, the millennials, Generation Z's, and everything. It's like we're not passing the torch. We
Yeah.
just expecting the next generation to find it.
Yeah.
And so it's a degree upon us, some responsibility upon us to do our due diligence and pass it the right way, the older generation,
Yeah.
and let them know that although times have changed and technology advances, the principles for which we live still remain the same.
Yeah.
The principles would never change. The roles from which you have in the household as it pertains to family does not change. Now, the occupation may change,
Yeah.
the pay rate may change,
Yeah.
but the principles for who you are as a man, as a woman, as a wife, as a husband, as a daughter, as a son, those will never, ever change. And when we start addressing those issues and knowing that just because you are my son, or because you are a man, you are a young boy who's going to grow up and be a responsible man, I have to make sure that I instill some of these rules within you right now until you begin to cultivate and you begin to progress and start making on your own for yourself. But I
You
have to
know,
understand principles.
oh man, I'm a strong believer. I teach principles are like lighthouses; they don't move. So
Right.
you have to discover them, and then you have to head to them. You got to just commit. I'm going to apply the principle. My mentor, Dr. Miles Monroe, he said that we were taught for a long time that men were the head, and he says that's not right. And I thought, man, nobody teaches like Dr. Miles Monroe. Dr. Monroe
No,
said, men are not the head. I was like, oh, he said, I'm going to mess up all that, what you've been taught. He said, men are the foundation.
that's right.
He said, men are the foundation.
Mhm.
He said, everything is built on manhood. It's just, you got to understand that. And so, what's your view when it comes to the foundation of it all being built on manhood and the reconditioning of men today to accept that we are the foundation, and that there are women looking for men who understand that there are boys who are needing men to understand that the foundation to which my son and every son were to be raised and developed needs to be locked in, because when the foundation is cracked, when the foundation has issues, the house could be possibly condemned.
Yes. Without the foundation, the house cannot stand.
Yeah.
When you have a solid foundation, you can build, and you can rebuild.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter if you have a brand new house, fresh
Yeah.
bricks, shanders, and everything, brand new roof. If it's one crack in that foundation,
Yeah.
the house itself
Yeah.
is no good.
Wow.
And so I cannot express uh, the foundation as it pertains to the family. I love Dr. Miles Monroe, your mentor. But as I go around and I'm teaching, I am also reverting back to those same things, the teachings that he has always indoctrinated within me as well, because it made a very big impact. The man is the foundation. He is not the dictator.
Yep. Yep.
That does not
Right.
mean the overall, the mouth and everything. He is the foundation, which is
Yep.
why God created him first to instill the rules, because other things were going to come after him that he has to take care of. And the rules are what make it all possible. Period. It is the upholder, it is the protector, it is the provider, it is the keeper, the cultivator. All of those things above comes when you know that you have a solid foundation. And this is the conundrum that we have faced at this point of time, because when you're talking about a rule, as it pertains to something, you also would address security. Without foundation, without stability, there is no security.
Yep.
And most women, when they become of age, they realize that security is more important than finances, because now she has her own job. She
Yep.
has her own career. She's making her own money, but she's not secure. So therefore, if she links with another man or they get into a relationship, she seeks more security. So therefore, a man has to be sure in himself, even if he does not make the most money, even if he doesn't have a great or what a career that is of his liking. He has to be very confident and sure of where he's going in his life. He has to be very confident and sure of who he is as a person, as a being in his life. He has to be sure of his calling and his purpose in order to be secure within himself. So when he comes into a relationship, he has something to provide as well.
Man, listen, ladies and gentlemen, we're trying to help. Okay. That's really what it's all about. We're trying to help. And one of the things that I've discovered is if you apply a principle, just one principle, your life can be changed forever. You can change the life of your child. One good principle. And every day when you show up here on Effective Living, it's all about presenting you principles that if you extract what you're supposed to get from this talk this morning, you would, I mean, listen, you're going to walk in your office a little bit different. You're going to sit down with your son, your grandson, your nephew. Come on, your little cousin. Come on, the boys that are in your community. You got to start realizing we got to do something different in order to get something different. Here's the deal. What has inspired you? What book, which program that has gotten you on this track to, you know what, this is what I'm going to give my life to?
I know that a long time ago, I used to read a lot of books, but if you say the book that I've read right now lately, The Science of Being Great. It's a book written by Dr. Wallace D. Wattles. And in this book, it's just breaking it down of the whole idea from the thought to the feeling to the action to the vision to the dream of the way that you'll see in the world before, present, and beyond. And it really just reminds me is like, hey, the best possible way of living is to take yourself out of the equation and think, how can I help someone else? And life itself begins to just help you. But you know, when I first began, it was so many different books that I used to just read. But the universal laws of success, realizing that there are certain things that are irrefutable, you know, and if people just knew how to apply some of these rules to themselves, just knew, because I found at the end of the day, Ricardo, a lot of people just don't know. So they move through life according to what they expect. And when you start getting from the upper class communities that kind of like that are a little bit more prosperous, until you start transcending on down to the marginalized communities, people who are lacking the resources, you realize that there's a lack of expectation in those communities. You know, in order to have, you don't see nothing, you don't expect nothing, therefore you do nothing.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a wake-up call, guys. It is a wake-up call. I'm joined with Mar Butler this morning, and we're challenging you. Mar, what has been some of your greatest life's lesson up to this point, man? Obviously, you've been grabbing a hold of principles along the way. It has brought you to the place where you are. Give our viewing audience a few of those that really stands out to you, that you hold tight and you keep in front of you on a constant basis.
Well, the two things that I learned to forget, I've always remembered to forget, is one, the good that you do for others. Two, the wrong that others do to you. I know that's an old saying, but I always hold on to it because trying to remember the good that you do for others, it gives you some kind of sense of entitlement and expectations. And a lot of times life is not meant to supply you through that person that you just did good for. It's just a point of just doing good. Two, you know, remembering when someone else did to me, holding grudges, it only defeats me. So therefore, I realized that I can't keep holding on to that. So I keep moving forward. The third principle, the thing that I really just do is I learned to just take my time as I got older through life, enjoying the journey, you know, just really just understanding. It was this quick thing that I learned a long time ago. We used to work in the Church of God in Christ back in the day, where I used to work at the church, and they used to have the program for youth boys, right? And so we used to work there in the summer. And so when during the summer, they used to always feed us lunch. And I couldn't wait to just go ahead and bite into this sandwich. I just bite into it really good. And then the lady who fixed the sandwich was like, Mar, did you enjoy the sandwich? I was like, yes, it was good. She said, can you tell me what was in it? And I couldn't tell her what was in it because I ate it so fast. She said, you were still going to get full regardless. But because you didn't slow down to enjoy the flavor, you missed the beauty of what was in it.
Cool.
It's like, wow.
Man, hey, listen, man, that's the first, man. That's the first time I heard something like that. But boy, that was good just now.
Yeah.
That was good. Listen, we got people watching us all over, on your Dallas Black male agenda. The principles that you are living and walking out on a daily basis. Your goal now is to help as many people. If you would say, what three things now this agenda is going to push through in the next 3 to 5 years, if there were three things that you could do, what would it be? Because man, going back before you answer that, I'm gonna make sure that I slow down and tell what's in the meal, man. What's in the sandwich? I'm gonna eat and I'm gonna digest and I'm gonna and I know what you're talking about, because if you've ever watched the chef shows, those guys will take they put some olive in this,
Yeah.
is there
Exactly.
mushrooms? You know what I'm saying? There's just so much there, but there's just so much we've not been taught, even in relations to eating, in relations to eating. So before you answer that question, when I think about effective living, you're just tapping into an understanding. The late Dr. Miles Monroe said this: where purpose is unknown, abuse is inevitable. And so a lot of times we don't even enjoy our meal because we don't understand the purpose and the reason for why we're eating. So we oftentimes just eat, just thinking to do. But there's a way to get massive benefit from a meal that goes beyond just getting a belly full. Come on.
Yes.
You can imagine that, going beyond just getting a belly full. But anyhow, Mar, listen. In the next 3 to 5 years, what would you like to see happen through the Dallas Black male agenda? If there were three things that were made happen, that came to life, that's a fact, that's a guarantee, and that you guys, your initiative was the catalyst that occurred that brought this thing to life, what would those things be?
Well, it's the good thing that as a point to this city, the mayor has agreed to be on board. So now we're forming what you call a task force. And a task force for every negative quality of life, whether it was, murders, incarceration, criminal justice, re-entry, homeless, housing, education, for every single one, all the way down to mental health. We have a person sitting on that table that is tasked to finding the right or creating the right resources that address every last one of those issues. Because the dream is to rebuild the community of what we used to call the village, which is restoring everything back to a form of health in every aspect. And so that's what we're doing. So the whole dream is that if we can get to the point to where the young man understand who he is, he has a fighting chance. There are no Black men that's being walking around homeless without ways to go because they were uneducated at a point of time, or they lacked the resources because of the color of their skin, or if they were being, all of the things that we suffer from nowadays, these disparities, where we have a community that polices itself, where you have a community of community leaders, where you have a whole generation of community leaders that are pumping out, and it's really Black men getting involved, making sure that their communities are okay, rather than just the homes or where they live, and then just structure, repairing the advocating and repairing the wife back with the husband, not just advocating for divorce, repairing the father back with the son and the child, not just advocating for child support or parental rights or this, these things that we see so much and fight over. All of these things advocate for the separation of a family. But if you can put the resources back together, then everything will begin to understand within himself. It will always coincide with one another. Health, or all the way around the board, is what signifies a healthy community. And it starts one person at a time.
It starts one person at a time. Let's talk about this before we bring our talk to a close. There are people who are watching us today that the whole concept of getting your mindset changed to believe this stuff can happen.
Right.
What are some practical things that one must do to change their minds? Because, really at the end of the day, the scripture teaches us, as a man thinketh, so is he.
Hmm.
The mindset of our people, to change that, it requires a lot of work. There are a lot of
Yes.
people, they desire better. They
Right.
agree with what you're saying, Mar, but when it comes to changing your mind or
Hmm.
changing your mindset, what's going to be important in the mindset changing of that individual who's going to start, and then it's going to move from an individual to 3 to 5 to 8 to 10, and before you know it, a whole community starts to shift because a person decided to change their mind, like you changed your mind.
Right.
What's going to be some of the things that's going to be necessary for the individuals watching us today to starting to change their minds to make certain things happen?
Well, they always say that whenever there's a will, there's a way. No matter what it is, if a person does not have the will to do it, they won't. But it is the sole obligation of the person who's reaching out to also provide the alternatives, because you have to know what to have a will for.
Yeah.
This is the whole this is the whole problem that we face, is that when people wake up in marginalized communities and they see nothing, they expect nothing.
Well,
But it drives further depression when you know that something better is out there.
yeah.
But in order to get it, you have to travel. You have to reinvent. You have
Yeah.
to conform. And before you know it, you're nothing like yourself. You don't live anywhere near yourself. You have to almost denounce your culture, whatever that may be, in order to have a successful life. And life should not be like that. So
Yeah.
what you have to do is, as I said before, you come from a proactive approach, which is really providing, the reactive approach, which is really providing some relief,
Yeah.
just providing some relief in the beginning. Because if you can just get the relief long enough to where some of those pressures are not just bombarding you every day that you wake up and every time you go to sleep at night, then maybe you can listen a little bit, because maybe you be more apt to listen. And when you're more apt to listen, this is when we apply with a proactive approach and say, hey, there are other alternatives out there if you be willing to change your mind. So what we have to do is, in order to dream big, in order to have a vision, you have to see the vision. So what we're doing is our job, which is instilling a vision. That means coming together with other people who are like-minded, who have that same passion, that are willing to drive home that vision. But if I was to leave a message with those at home, it starts with you asking questions.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Just look around you and just question, is this really what I'm comfortable doing, or is this really what I'm settling for?
Yeah. Wow.
And when you really ask those questions, you begin to say, now who's representing me in office? Because there's always someone who's representing you, making decisions on your behalf, whether you voted for them or not. It's not just the president of the United States. It's not just the Congress. That's not the Senate. It is city councilmen. It is mayors. It is pro tems. It is everything, all the way down to a municipal local level, who makes decisions on your behalf. And they're talking about how much rent you should pay, or how much your mortgage should be, how much your property should be taxed, whether you should pay high water bills or gas bills, where you should live according to your race and your demographics. Someone who's already making decisions as to how many police are really patrolling on which neighborhood and what they're looking for, what profile should they have in their mind. These are things that we cannot longer accept, but we have to start asking questions. And when the more questions that you have, that question will begin to change the mindset. And anytime you change the mindset, the way for the actions will follow.
Mar, this is work. Mar, it is work. It's having the desire to change, and now asking the questions. Once those questions are asked, it's going to take you to that next point of putting in the work. I mean, you're going to have to go to City Hall. You're going to have to Google search and research what is coming up on the next election, local ballot that speaks to the school district, that speaks to crime, that speaks to how business are coming into the community, and how things are being managed on different level. A lot of people aren't prepared to put in the work. A lot of people will walk past and see something like this on and not stick with it because they want the candy, they want the fluff, they want the ease. But the reality of it is, a good society is built of responsible people deciding to do the work. Talk about the importance of doing the work, the importance of showing up. I've seen you at City Hall. I've seen you you doing interviews with some of our city officials. Man, you're putting in the work. But that's because you started asking the questions, as you mentioned just now. Ask the questions. And then when those questions come about, you may need to say, hey, somebody needs to be at the table that's going to ask the question, not just allow these individuals to hold these positions and then make rules that affects us, but could be changed to better accommodate us if we're at the table or if we're in the room asking the questions. So talk to our viewing audience about putting in the work.
When it comes to that, putting in the work, I was reverting back to the First Lady, Eleanor Roosevelt. And she had this famous quote that I love repeating all the time. And she says that small minds discuss other people. Average minds discuss events. Great minds discuss ideas. And what you start looking at is that when you start asking those questions, you're coming up with ideas. And it's always something about it. You will be surprised when you start asking those questions. And when I mean asking, I mean going to the point to where you really start doing your due diligence and searching and going to where they are. You will always find, always, it never fails, that there's someone that's asking the same questions as you are. And what they have is that what you'll start joining alliances and doors will start opening. But it starts with the ask, the real ask. You know, and so a lot of people don't ask because they really don't care, or they don't know what to ask. You notice something is wrong. That's how I started. I knew that something was wrong when I first started getting active some years ago. I just didn't know how to go about asking it. But before I know it, I just thought, you know what? There's no such thing as a dumb question. I'm just going to put it out there anyway. Like, what am I looking at right here? And why is this going wrong? Someone is always willing to answer those quote unquote dumb questions. Trust me. You just have to put it out there because it's here. When you see it, you're not the only one that's seeing some injustices. You're not the only one seeing some wrongs that need to be made right. But it's all about asking first. So that's what I would do. Always looking for the reason to question and ask, just like everything else that you would.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we're joined with Mar Butler. Let me tell you something. The guy is doing what he's having to do on a daily basis to make sure that life is coming alive for him in helping humanity. Listen, one of the things that I believe in my new book, I wrote about 5 F's, and that is faith, family, finances, fitness, and fun. I think it's important that you learn how to connect yourself with the thing that you were created to do. And before you know it, somebody say, you don't ever have fun. The truth is, the things that I do, I'm like a fish in water. A fish don't ever look like it's having fun because it's in its element. Come on, it's in its element. And when you're in your element, life has meaning that you can't put a price on. And that's what Mar is about. Mar, talk to us about what is effective living looks like to you as we get ready to close this talk.
Effective living is when you know that you are living a life, as I do, just being in your element, just impacting others, and leaving yourself open to be impacted as well by good things. Always remember to enjoy the journey and enjoy life. Don't worry about what you are going to get out of it. If you're missing love, I found out that when I was missing love, I had to open myself to the idea of love, period. And then I began to receive it, not just from a person, from everything. Whatever is meant to take care of me, it was automatically ready to supply me. That's the way it is. And the more I begin to just give it, just pour into others, the more life itself will begin to pour back into me the way that I needed it at this moment, at this time. You are always available. You are always worthy, and you are always successful.
Wow. Ladies, listen, guys, man, I'm excited about what's happening because every day on this platform, we're discovering that there are people who are capturing truths that are waking them up and they're living the life that literally speaks to what we talk about in this book. If you have not gotten your copy of Effective Living, get your copy today. Listen, guys, in a few weeks, it's almost like 2 weeks away. We're going to have our 5K. Mar, don't go anywhere. We're going to talk about something else in a minute, but we have our Effective Living 5K run walk. It's fast approaching April 10th. Listen, Ma, I'm needing you to be my guest out there. We're going to do an interview out there because we got to start taking care of our bodies, people. We got to teach our young people to take care of their body. Your body is the vehicle that you're going to use to fulfill your assignment. So if you have not registered for this yet, do it today. We have already ordered some things and we need to start shipping them out on some things. We just need to start delivering some things. We need you to start picking up because the 5K is fast approaching. It's going to happen in Arlington, Texas, y'all. It's going to be great. Now, here's the deal. For those of you that want to be a part of this, the Effective Living Virtual Retreat, we got workshop session that's going to happen virtually. And then what we have is we have some things that we believe that everyone this weekend, April 9th through the 11th, we want you to go to a spa. We want you to go ahead and have lunch with some friends. We want you to be able to take some time and get these equipping session that's going to focus around faith, finances, fitness, listen, family, and fun. The goal is to create a life you don't need a vacation from. So what I want to encourage you to do is go to ricardomiller.com, register for the 5K, go ahead, register for the retreat. If you register for the retreat, you get the 5K automatically. But if you haven't registered for the retreat, but you say, I just want to do the 5K, you can do that as well. And for those of you that don't know, we're helping kids in the Bahamas this summer. And so proceeds from the 5K is going to be helping us to get some shoes. We got hundreds of shoes that we're going to be shipping off to the Bahamas. You know, the pandemic has disrupted all of our economies around the world. I'm from the Bahamas, and I want to make sure kids in the Bahamas, the inner city, that those kids have the opportunity to have some nice, good shoes going back to school and to be able to hang out in the neighborhood with their friends. So you can go ahead and sponsor someone to come to the 5K and make sure that we get those shoes to the Bahamas for kids. And so register for the 5K. It's going to be great. Ma, as we get ready to close, man, I hope your schedule will allow you. You got to join me. We're going to do we'll if your schedule permit, we'll do a live talk out there and just remind people about some of the stuff that you guys have going on at the Dallas Black Male Agenda. Closing thoughts before we're done.
Oh man, my closing thoughts would always be to just live life and enjoy the journey because you never know. It's a gentleman by the name of Omar Jawad in Dallas. He was a bishop. He passed away, and I was really blown away by some of the things that he accomplished. I didn't know exactly how much. So the person who gave the eulogy really didn't have to give the eulogy because it was a recount of everything great thing that he had done, how many people he reached, how many homes and everything he's built for homeless people, how many gangs intervention that he's been a part of and actually created peace. It was like it was so much stuff that it was almost overwhelming with so many good things. So I was like, I've always teaching my students that your past experiences is the credit score of your life. That's the credit score. The things that you've done are the credit score of your life. So always give account to the things that you do because it's only what you do for Christ will last.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Mar, man, it's always a delight to have you on here at Effective Living. We've done radio. Now we've done our YouTube live. We've done it with Adrian McConnell. Guys, follow this guy. How people can stay in contact with you. You have a show. You have a talk show. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, it's called Speak on It with Mar Butler. It used to be my my Facebook Live videos that I started off doing, just doing my little 2 minutes, you know, here and there, giving the word as God relates it to me. But now it has actually evolved into an actual show and a podcast, which I do twice a week on Wednesdays and Saturday morning. So tomorrow morning from 9 to 11 a.m., I will be doing it, and it's Speak on It with Mar Butler. And what I would be doing is live streaming it the same way that I used to until I get the audience really, really going and everything. But I like to keep that live stream going because, you know, that's where we started. That's how we did it. So we're going to stay there. But it's Speak on It with Mar Butler. And you can go to anything if you want to reach me at Mar Butler Speaks. That's MARBUTLER Speaks. At Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, even Clubhouse. Like, look me up. I am right there, ready to get it in. Let's talk about it. Let's grow together.
Good stuff, Mar. Thank you so much once again for joining us. Hey, guys, don't forget the lifestyle you promise yourself. Get a copy of Effective Living today. The link is in the comment section below. It's going to help you construct a life that will allow you to be able to show up on a daily basis saying, you know what, I'm not living by chance. I'm living intentionally. I'm being intentional about how I show up on a daily basis. Have a great day, everyone. Mar, thank you again, man. This was awesome.
Hey, man, the same to you, my brother. Peace out, everybody. Love you.